What up, my soon-to-be cosplayers? So you're trying to figure out how to get started in cosplay, but you have no idea where to start. Well, I am here to help you, and I'm going to do that by asking you why. Why is it that you want to get into cosplay? Now, I know your immediate answer is probably going to be because it looks like so much fun and I want to have fun. Well, yes, that is a great answer for wanting to get in cosplay. It is probably 100% reason behind why anybody gets into cosplay. And so this video, we're going to talk about the different aspects of cosplay to kind of help you figure out, you know, what is it about cosplay that appeals to you? Now, if you're just here to have fun, you just want to like vaguely dress up as your favorite character and go, that's totally valid. I'm just going to expand upon the different things because, you know, a while back on TikTok, I was asked, you know, how do you get into cosplay? And my answer was, you know, use closet cosplays. But I had another cosplayer come forward and, you know, be like, well, that's not necessarily like the right answer. Not that there is a right answer into how to get started in a cosplay, but you know, they were talking about how they personally do it because they love the craft of it. And I wanted to make this video to kind of expand on it because they're right. And after I thought about it for a while, I wanted to make, you know, a more inclusive video. With that being said though, I've been cosplaying on and off since 2015, so I'm not going to pretend to know everything about cosplay. You know, there's definitely some topics that I'm going to talk about that I haven't personally experienced, but a lot of it, you know, I have experience. So with that, you know, we're gonna get started. And I'm gonna start off with, you know, the reason why I thought cosplay was cool. You know, I had a friend in high school that did cosplay and she told me about cosplay contests, which I thought sounded amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in a contest to show off your cosplay? And so kind of basically how those work is, and I have to be really careful because not every con or event does cosplay contests the same. It really depends on the size because, you know, I've been to cons where they're so big that they take up 2 large, you know, convention centers in a major city. I've also been to one that's so small that it was the size of a gym at a community college. And how those cons handled cosplay contests was dramatically different. And so, you know, if you're going to get into cosplay contests, you need to look up what are the rules online, so that way you know what the con's expectations are when you go to enter. So most cons generally have a rule that 80% of your cosplay needs to be made to enter the contest. I think I've seen a rule as low as 65, but generally 80% is what you want to shoot for. And so if you've got a larger convention, they'll generally break you up into 3 tiers: novice, journeyman, and master, and the expectations for each of those tiers is going to vary. You know, like a novice is probably going to be expected to understand how to make things with basic patterns, whereas like a master is going to be expected to make nearly everything, you know, including the undergarments as well as everything else in the cosplay. And this also includes like styling wigs, doing makeup, and things like that. And so kind of to follow that track, we're going to talk about like the different crafting things that go into cosplay. So focusing on the clothes itself, kind of the 3 biggest ways to get into cosplay crafting that I've noticed. Again, this is not all inclusive. I mean, it's not even going to include how I'm making this poison ivy in the background, but the 3 major ways to get into crafting in cosplay is by sewing, foam building, and 3D printing. Now, how you choose which one of those you want to get into depends on the kind of cosplay that you want to make. So primarily, a lot of cosplays that I'm into are like DC characters. So there's not a lot of armor or, you know, not a lot of accessories that I need to make, not anything major accessories that I need to make. So for me, sewing is going to be my best option because, you know, everything's fabric. But, you know, if I was looking to build a Mandalorian suit, or if I really wanted to get into like Star Wars armor, you know, foam building and 3D printing, they kind of are almost interchangeable. I'm gonna be careful when I say that because you can make a lot of weapons both 3D printed and both built out of foam, and it's the same for armor. I've just kind of tend to notice that a lot of Star Wars armor cosplayers foam build, but that may have more to do with, that might have more to do with the cost, because a heat gun is a lot cheaper than a 3D printer. Although I have noticed that 3D printers have dropped in price dramatically over the past 5 years. I believe now you can get a 3D printer for like $160, so you can get that and some filaments for less than $200, which is really cheap compared to when 3D printers first came out. But I've also noticed that like a lot of cosplayers, so like if you get like a Final Fantasy cosplayer, or you know, basically your big old swords, like if you want to make a big old sword, or like shields, or you know, things like that, or like Iron Man suits, a lot of people tend to 3D print those pieces. So when it comes to like crafting, figure out like what kind of character are you interested in making, and then I would go out and see, you know, what are other cosplayers that do that character, how are they making their cosplay, because they also probably know like the online resources that they found to help them get into it, because you know there's so many resources online, like 3D printing, you know, finding libraries that have the files already ready so that you can just print them out, or you know, foam building, there's a lot of pattern makers like Kinpastu. So it's just kind of like figuring out who is it you want to cosplay and what's the best way to go about crafting. And then kind of leading into that, like wig styling is really big with cosplay. You know, if you really want to get into wig styling, I know like that's a really intensive way to get into cosplay in and of itself. Like that's something that I basically know nothing on. I know very minimal wig styling. Like I would not be able to tell you how to make like a Princess Peach wig. I basically know how to curl a wig and that's basically it. But there's a lot you can do with wig styling. It's just something that's a little bit beyond me. And like another way that you can kind of get into a very like crafty arts form of cosplay is through makeup. There's a lot of cosplayers that they just do makeup and that is their cosplay. One of my favorite TikTokers, Mistress Mortis, I think that's how you say it, sorry, I always have to like enunciate it, but Mistress Mortis on TikTok, I'll leave a link in the description below, you can check her out. She does fantastic makeup and that's her cosplay. Her cosplay is basically from the shoulders up, but she does wonderful cosplays and it's all makeup. And there's a lot of cosplayers out there like that they'll do, like they will paint themselves to look exactly like the character they're cosplaying. And it's a really great way to get into cosplay. It's a really great way to have like an artistic outlet. So now you have all these cosplays and maybe there's more you want to do with them. Well, there's a couple more things that we can do to get into cosplay. Sorry that transition was cheesy as hell. But I can't figure out how to transition from, you know, crafting to photography. So that's the thing that we're going to talk about next. Photography, you know, taking photos, having your photos taken is a really popular thing to do in cosplay. You know, sometimes you want to preserve and have like, you know, the image of the hard work and the character that you made. You know, you want to see your character come to life in a way that you can view it, that you can preserve it. So photography is really good, and there's a couple different ways you can get into it. I mean, there's basically just the two, sorry. But you know, it's working with a photographer or doing the shoots yourself. I've done both. I lean more towards self shoots, mostly from a cost standpoint. Like I would love to be able to hire a photographer all the time, but unfortunately money is just not there. But they each have their pros and cons though. So, I mean, just because I do a lot of self shoots doesn't make that the better decision. But basically, you know, like the pros of working with a photographer is you are working with a professional. You know, you should be able to check out your photographer's portfolio before deciding to work with them. And a lot of them, they will do the edits for you as well. So that's kind of one less thing that you need to do. And, you know, with that experience that they have, they know different techniques that you may not know of. So, you know, like they might be familiar with lighting and give you cool effects with lighting, or have the tools to give you cool effects with, you know, lighting and things like that, or even just cool effects in Photoshop as well. Versus like, you know, if you're doing the shoots yourself, you have to, you are solely responsible for the posing, for the photos, for the edits. You know, you have to do everything on your own. But the plus side to doing it for yourself is that you get the work at your own pace and you own the photos. So yes, if you work for the photographer, you do not automatically own the rights to your photos. You have to sign a release with the photographer for you to own the rights to redistribute or sell your cosplay photos. And kind of, you know, if once you have these photos, what can you do with them? Well, a lot of people, they like to make content. They like to build a platform. So like a really popular place for cosplayers is on social media. Like, lots of cosplayers become influencers, which is really cool in my opinion. You know, they build a community around characters that they love, around cosplays that they love, and they get to share their passion with people. So, you know, building a platform is something you can do with cosplay. You know, like with the rise of TikTok and Instagram, those are really great. So yeah, those are basically all the different ways that you can get into cosplay. And I hope this really helps you guys going forward. If you did find this video helpful, if you could drop a link and subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate that, because I do want to kind of talk more about my experience with cosplay and share my experience with you guys. So, you know, let me know. What did you guys think? Do you think I missed anything? Did you guys find this helpful? Let me know. I would really greatly appreciate it.